have to invest heavy in this just to even get close to taking the point.
Both teams with their Graviton Surges. This is about to get messy, this team fight, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of those ultimates are going to get used. It is going to be the Graviton Surge from Decay. Transcendence from both teams. And a self-destruct in the back. Well set up, and Fury was picked off. The defensive rocket, the Spitfire missing. Guard is run over, and the Gladiators just look indomitable so far. There is a back cap going on. It will be nuts to try and keep this round going, but he's been discovered. BigGOOSE just being propelled forward by the rest of his team. Nuts will just have to stall if he can, but he's boot back, and that's it. A good early showing here from the Gladiators.
I mean, I would say that. I would probably categorize that a little bit better than good.
I mean, let's look.
I would go a tad higher than good.
Let's look at the average energy comparison between Decay and Prophet in that.
I mean, it's 76% for Decay. It's 19% for Prophet. But you can't build energy if everybody's dead and everybody's dying. And your main source of generating that energy, which is Gesture playing the main tank, whether it's Winston or Reinhardt's, pretty much dead at the beginning of the fights. I mean, you have Gesture get 3 deaths there, which isn't like a crazy amount, but in this meta, that's kind of the game. Prophet does have 4, but only 1,600 hero damage from Gesture, so he's not really even alive long enough to like get in, put down some damage where he has to be a target, then you put the bubble on him, then you start generating some energy, like he's just dead straight away.
Shaz has a large amount of damage amplified by Discord Orb, about 1,600. So that's about 1,300, should I say, after that first round. So the Zenyatta Orb's very crucial here. The Spitfire again, they want to play with the Winston in the 3-3 setup, Matt. The Gladiators surely will look to punish this.
And the Gladiators just playing the Reinhardt right now. They just want to sit on the point, Mitch. They want to force Gesture in. They want him to make a mistake. Take out that Winston first. A lot like the last time. Force them back onto the Rein combo. Up the 3-3. Just look at Roar. He's like not even putting his shield on. He's just running in with the hammer. Like there's no worry. Because there's no shatter coming from the other team. There's nothing that he really needs to worry about. Because Prophet's not charged up. He's not lobbing in those alternate fires, putting down tons of chunk damage. Like Roar, I mean, once they put the Discord on him, if he runs in, I mean, great. You don't have the burst damage like the Rein hammer swinging through you, plus like the Zarya. They just throw a bubble on him, clear it off, and just keep moving forward.
So, I mean, the Spitfire have to lean on a Transcendence in this next fight, but of course the Gladiators have one of their own. The Graviton from Decay will be forthcoming, so it's just as well they had the Zenyatta ult. The Spitfire, they'll need it. Decay to push in, again charged up, and once more, Gesture out of position, or at least he was forced out of position by the Brigitte of Hydration. The Spitfire once again lose one of their core players before the fight really starts.
And they're not going to win the battle approaching it that way. When you see Gesture kind of stand out into the open as Nuss gets staggered a little bit, he's got his shield up. And they're just burning down his shield. And where is Roar? He's just playing the other side of the pillar with his shield down. Not losing any of his shield. You're just burning down Gesture's shield to the point where he's just kind of like hopping in no man's land, trying to get around the corner. He gets shot back into the rest of the Gladiators and get taken out really quickly.
Roar is about doubling Gesture's damage per 10 currently, which makes sense given that he's been alive longer and been in all winning fights.
But like, watch his positioning, right? So like Gesture now, he makes it around the corner and he just puts the shield down, but Roar at a good position there.
Look at Decay, almost forcing the Spitfire back on his own with that damage. Graviton surged out, but Decay has one as well. Hydration charged out there by Gesture. That's one casualty for the Gladiators here, but his self-destruct doesn't quite connect. It was Gesture able to keep up the shield, but Roar straight into a shatter. Poop away. Roar is knocked out of the picture, but Void's still able to follow up and remove Gesture. It's traded out though as Roar gets caught by Prophet and is forced away from the fight. Shaz takes a huge Zarya left click, and he's out of there.
London will flip 99% though to the Gladiators, but they did invest a ton into that fight. You expect when you come back there will be a grab waiting for you from Prophet, Gesture with the shatter. So I think you're going to probably see like 1 or 2 fights that the Spitfire win rather convincingly, and then you'll see the Gladiators with some ultimates start to really invest into these fights.
That may all have been the first fight that they've won in the entirety of Busan. They were very quiet first round. Again, these compositions can allow you to snowball, especially if they feature the Reinhardt. Gesture went for the shatter there by the looks of things and didn't really come up with any results. Roar is Discord, Prophet's trying to get past the shield, and Bidoshin finally allows the Spitfire to break through. Once again, the Gladiators will be routed.
But it's like night and day, right? I mean, now you see Prophet holding up like that 90+ charge. You start to see him lob it in. Those alternate fires chunking players down. It's, you know, when you can keep that Zarya, when you keep the energy up, stay alive, just provides so much extra damage, especially when now like Decay's coming out of the spawn, right? Zero charge, he's gonna have to build himself back up over numerous bubbles to even get close.
Zarya in the 3-3 is feast or famine. Decay experiencing now the latter side of that spectrum. But a Graviton Surge will be nice. Again, just needs to get that charge up. It will be taking that one bubble, gives him up to 50. And he's telling Raw, you can go forward, I can shield you. It's a lot of poke damage, fire strikes and all the rest. All Decay very low. But Raw wants to go aggressive regardless. That's interesting. Earthshatter comes out, they bait that all away from Jester, and now the Transcendence is brought into play. Both teams using their Zenyatta Rock to keep them nice and healthy. Earthshatter from Raw, he tried to set up the self-destruct and Jester was taken down by it. Now Decay trying to get into the backline towards Bedosha, but he's caught like Graviton himself. It doesn't matter. They still cut him down. Despite this Fury coming in from the top rope, a very important self-destruct there to take the momentum away and to keep the Spitfire now in this one. They're going to take away this second round and it's going to make it best of 3 here in our first map.
You see Prophet end up building towards another grab towards the end. Fury with the perfect self-destruct. So London ties it up. Have they been one of the hardest teams to judge just because
I don't know.
how
You go 0-2 then 2-0.
but it's not even like you can lose 2 games and win 2 games and you still are kind of like valued the same, right? No, I think like look, the Shock lose a few games, we still think pretty highly of them. It's like just the fashion that London lost, lost, and then like they come back and they just storm through 2 matches. It's like there's not really like
it seems like we either get like the really good one or the kind of average.
This composition snowballs out of control.
Yes.
Especially with the Reinhardt, less so with the Winston in a 3-3. Because once you have that ultimate advantage, it could be 3 fights before the other team can actually get back at you and even have an ultimate advantage of their own. Raw, a lot of damage here. This time the Spitfire want to get slightly more aggressive. Raw out of position, caught by the fire strike.
And that is perfect there from London. They're doing the same thing that the Gladiators were doing to them earlier. When the Gladiators were getting aggressive, they were taking advantage of Prophet not having any charge and then pushing on through, using Decay to chunk players down, getting Jester out of position. Right there, Prophet gets a ton of charge at the beginning. They push right through right away. They know he's charged up. They know he's got more charge than Decay. Push on through. Prophet gets low here. You're going to have to back out, maybe reset a little bit, allow the Gladiators to gain some space.
Again, those walls are coming up and down, essentially randomly, or at least not in a predictable fashion. So the last thing you want to do is try and go for a self-destruct or a shatter, and that wall sort of pops up here. Jester, though, for some reason, it seems that Raw wasn't really too worried about him, despite the fact that he was inching further and further towards the left and getting in a position to stick an Earthshatter behind the shield. Well, seemed to have worked out for the Spitfire now, and look, I spoke a little bit with Flame, obviously GM of Houston Outlaws, and one of the things that he's quite adamant about right now is that the aggressive team, the team that just holds W, is generally going to come out on top with this 3-3
Well, I mean, it makes a ton of sense in the fact that usually when you're playing aggressive, you're running together, and then when you force the other team to react, somebody reacts one way, they think the other person's going to react a different way, and that's when you can start to get some confusion.
Especially against teams who can't communicate effectively on the fly if there is a language barrier there. Nice little double shadow, but Ocean still had the Transcendence in play. Raw charging through, managed to find guard. And that makes it a 6v5. The Spitfire now have to jockey back a little bit more, and eventually they just will run out of steam in this fight. Not a moment too soon for the Gladiators to retake control. Fairly deep investment, though, in that fight in terms of ultimates for both sides.
Prophet was trying to make it out with his charge, like loop around and then go back through the tunnel, and he actually gets stunned up by hydration, not able to make it out with all of that charge. So you lose some of that.
I mean, it was talked about a lot, I think, during that San Francisco-Vancouver match because, Sinatra was being targeted pretty heavily. They were trying to make sure that, he was very good at getting charge and getting up to 100 charge. And they really, the Vancouver team wanted to make sure that he wasn't able to do that kind of damage all the time. Target the Zarya, that's how you do it. Well, you see Jesse goes for an Earthshatter. There was a self-destruct thrown over his shoulder, but it must have just been out of line of sight towards the left if you're looking from this perspective. Void charges forward. It was Guardi with the Discord orbit at the time, and now the Transcendence Raw charges ahead of it, knows it's time to get aggressive, and Jester is yielded as a result. 43% to 66, and with the Gladiators still in the driver's seat right now, they're looking fairly good to put the Spitfire in a position where they must win the next fight.
Yeah, and if you're London, what do? I mean, you don't have a Transcendence to get through Decay's Graviton Surge. I mean, you will get it here coming into the next fight. It's like Prophet also has the grab, but you hate to like grab out of your own tunnel
Yeah, you don't want
It's just not ideal.
You want to use ultimates just to put yourself on even.
But I mean,
stand.
dropping to the point, then if they don't fall for it and stay on the high ground, you're not really going to have any follow-up with your grab anyway. So, but look, I mean, the Gladiator's just going to keep rotating around. London's going to try and beat them to the spot here and land a big grab.
Gladiators want to force London to commit. You notice that Decay isn't super charged up right now. It was a big lull in between the fights where he would have lost that charge. The Transcendence there from Guard, very important. Keeps the Spitfire in this one comfortably. Sorry, from BigGOOSE, should I say. And again, the Gladiators wanted London to commit to the point, but they had to filter on sort of one by one.
It was really nice from London. Like I was mentioning, you wouldn't have gotten a great use of the grab if you used it at the top of your tunnel. When they pushed all the way through, the Gladiators kind of rotated around. The issue is when they saw London drop, they should have probably just stayed up on the high ground. Use some more of Decay's right click, so you could have probably sent your Diva down to go contest roll kick, come back up. You can keep rotating it. You would have gotten a little bit more percentage. You would have got closer to 90.
London's ults aren't looking great right now. In fact, they kind of have to lean into a big shatter here from Gesture. They want to try and set it up for him, but he's being targeted. His shield's so low, and now the Transcendence from the Gladiators. They need to start the fight off. Gesture tried to be patient. He had to hold the shatter, but he had no choice. At least it puts London in a 99 to 89 position. They give the point willingly, knowing that they had to lose Gesture in that fight to come back with more, but they have to be very quick. They cannot spend too much time trying to position on the point. 98%, they must touch now. Fury drops on first. He gets shielded up and he'll get picked off as a response. He doesn't leave have a self-destruct, so a chance to get his mech back. He doesn't lose a whole lot in that exchange, and Shaz goes down. BigGOOSE picks him up. Shatter attempt there, knocks BigGOOSE on his rear end, and Void trying to go for the self-destruct, but the walls come up. Gesture shield also protects the Spitfire. BigGOOSE going down now. It's looking very good for London to turn this around in the last few moments. Decay now has to look on in dismay and really be the only man to challenge onto this point now, with Void being demeched and dispatched, and there it is, map 1, London! Out of nowhere, in the final moments of that fight, they managed to accept that Gesture will go down first. They back off, they bring him back, they win.
And right at the end, BigGOOSE going for that sound barrier, trying to keep everybody up. He falls, and then everybody starts to drop there for the Gladiators.
The Overwatch League is powered by Intel. Game, record, stream without compromise on Intel Core i7. And by Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and already the London Spitfire have kind of debated us a little bit in that first map. They look really average, Matt, initially, but that is the nature of this 3-3 composition. It can just blow out of control one way or the other.
I mean, they do play the ultimate economy game pretty well. You know, never really see London like waste ultimates, so to speak. You know, they always kind of get their support ultimates off. They just kind of play like a really like safe way.
I think that's what won them that last round.
Yeah, and they're able to get by when, you know, you have a lot of players not really playing the heroes they would really love to play right now. Like, Gesture would love to just play Winston
He would.
all the time. Not able to do so as we go into map number 2, Nimbani. You can play a lot of Winston here, though. You know, if you are in London, this is a pretty decent map for you.
Yeah. I call it back to the final moments on Mecha Base there.
Hey.
Don't give away my secrets, observers.
Oh!
Hey.
That's what Nuss thinks
It's a
of
high
his
quality
shirt.
shirts. Listen.
Oh, no, he left the purple one there.
Yeah, he did. My man's. I don't know about the...
Oh, there's only one purple one left.
I don't know about
Two of
I
the
don't know
red.
about the Crocs with heels, though. I'm not really about those. I don't know.
Nah, I don't know if it would look good with the yellow Crocs that they got there.
Either way,
I'm not a fashion expert, though. I wear sweatpants all the time, so I can't really comment too much.
let's jump into this one. The Spitfire on defense, and Matt, they will be playing with Gesture on the Winston here. Again, want to try and drive a wedge between the Gladiators backline and pick off their players before they can actually make a significant impact on this first point. We'll all be happy to play Reinhardt here. If it comes to push, or push comes to shove on his high ground, then Ryan definitely favoured. And yeah, a lot of pushing and a lot of shoving, but Raw is knocked off the high ground.
And that's going to force everybody to drop. I mean, you can't just leave your Reinhardt in the middle of the street. It's not. Man, this is dangerous. How many, I think we saw last week, look how Gesture is getting closer to that Primal Rage, building that ult up, and you have a lot of those players in that small room.
Oh, now you got to be ready to go with BigGOOSE missing. The Spitfire are not going to chase this one here. Again, a lot of risk. They don't want to get clapped back and lose one of their own players here. But yeah, with how clumped up the Gladiators are, just gets to tase them all.
And I mean, you get dropped to the low ground. You don't want to like rotate all the way back through the street and go back around. You kind of have to go into that little area where the Gladiators were. See if any boops can kind of push them right off. There it is again. The Primal Rage now out of Gesture.
And the Gladiators can't drop down. They're actually split up now. Gesture, Primal Rage. Again, BigGOOSE the first kill.
They rally this as well, the Gladiators.
And yet, they don't push on. Even having used that Brigitte ult, perhaps they were just hoping that it would be enough to get them out safely. But once more, a boop turns into a split Gladiators, and then a Primal Rage on the high ground from Gesture means that they can't reunite. They have to go again. 2 minutes 27 on the clock. 2 unsuccessful attacks. Here's number 3. Prophet charged up. Graviton in the corner. Guard goes down early in the fight, though. Transcendence now being brought in by BigOcean. And the Spitfire need to find a couple more pickups here in these next couple of moments. But Chaz, of course, had his own Transcendence available. Prophet off the map to BigGOOSE. And this is not how the Spitfire wanted this one to go. Losing that Brigitte so early, man.
You're going to get another touch here, potentially, if you're London. If you want to invest, you'll have Primal Rage in Sound Barrier. Some players coming out of the spawn. So it looks like Gesture's going to go on for the last second. They're going to rally as well.
Just getting there to the point. Decay. Okay, yeah. Gonna let that Graviton Surge go to catch guard again first in this fight. However, Nuss and Fury seem to be pretty comfortable in the bottom right corner of your screen here. They're not committing fully to the point. They're just keeping it contested, but they're not making much of a dent here. Gesture tries to go forward against Chaz, but completely denied.
And then while they're probably going to switch off of this anyway. You know, in the second part of the map, you imagine, yep, Gesture will go over to Reinhardt. So you don't even really feel bad, you know, burning that ultimate. You know they don't have a sound barrier. You can use your sound barrier, try and stall it out for time. This is bad. Prophet just trying to hide up here, just trying to make it out. He finally does. That's big because he keeps some of that charge, right? You know, sitting at 62% average energy.
That would be devastating. You know, to be honest, him losing the charge here would be enough to potentially
lose the
snowball
whole second
fight.
part of the map. Yeah,
exactly. That's just how important having a high charge on Azaya is. Feast or famine, like we said beforehand, that's the theme of this setup so far. Self-destruct thrown into the back of the Gladiators here, but they push far enough forward to not be bothered by it. Decay, very charged. And the Transcendence used actually just to let the Gladiators back out safely. Now they'll go again with both teams having used them Zenyatta ultimates. The armor from the rally will be on a couple of these Gladiators players, but not all of them. Prophet also supercharged up, wanting to push forward, but Raw's shield stays solid. Void was desuited.
Yeah, it's big though. You burn down Void. You don't have an opportunity to create some kind of combo.
Void trying to get his mech back here, but that's going to force the Gliders to back on
Don't
now.
you expect London to be more aggressive after getting rid of that deeper mech? They seem to
Well,
be
I think London has a good idea that there's a grab from Decay into Shatter Up. You blindly run around the corner with your Reinhardt. All they need is one of those ultimates to land.
All right. You're going to get hosed, perhaps. Oh, okay, Earthshadow doesn't quite get off the way that Gesture would have liked it to, although Shaz was still caught in it. Hydration missing, and now to Spitfire. Another very successful defensive fight. Decay, ooh, that sweet, sweet energy, bro, is gone. It's gone.
So now London can get aggressive, right? I mean, you have your own grab. Yeah, so they're just going to set it right outside of the spawn. So you mentioned, speaking of Flame, a lot of, I believe it as well. Aggression wins you games right now. You see how aggressive they're being. The grab actually puts Void on the other side of the wall. He doesn't get any effects there from the sound barrier.
Yeah, a lot of teams sort of try and set up that kind of graviton in fights where they know the other team has a line of sight dependent defensive
Nice spot
ultimate.
to line them off. Yeah.
And we see it happen on Route 66 a couple of times as well. Very important. Also, teams can sort of be saved by being behind a pillar when there's a self-destruct or something similar. So the Spitfire want to keep getting aggressive here. Just took a big hit, but the self-destruct from Fury was enough to force them back. Now, normally, that ultimate will be used in conjunction with the Graviton Surge to secure a fight win, but neither Prophet nor Fury are very close. Prophet wasn't very close to grab here, so Fury happy to buy some space with it.
I mean, you can still get kills if you just connect with, a good old charge right into Roar, right? Ooh, you lose hydration. They're still going to grab this. Transcendence out right away. And it's so weird, Midge. Okay, so they use the grab, and then there's no, they don't even try and follow it up. They almost use the grab and then run away.
Yeah, it looks like Decay actually queued or smashed Q at a time that he didn't actually think hydration would be dead. You know what I mean? It almost happened so simultaneously there that the communication that would need to come out in a moment like that was sort of not there. I don't think Decay expected hydration to not be present for that fight. Some things just happen all at once in this game.
Well, almost the worst part is they use Transcendence as well.
Yeah, that hurts. Both teams fairly even on that Zenyatta ultimate percentage at least. Guard having used Rally there, and you can see that armor will be persistent for a little while. Long enough for the Gladiators to have to push into an armored up Spitfire before it decays away. No pun intended. Earthshatter, Prophet caught up by that one. He was definitely hoping for something more as a three-man stun by Raw, but still Jester's able to get his own shatter off. Raw caught up in the Graviton Surge here, and the Gladiators have not made much progress at all. Decay needs to make a huge impact now with this Graviton Surge. Nas lays it down. Jester's going to be caught in that one as well. Prophet knocked away to the left. He's still present in the map. He's able to back away and survive, but Guard not looking too good either. He's going to get pressured down by Decay. Guard tries to come forward with a stun and is removed.
It's so hard to actually complete a hold from that position. The spawner's advantage is absolutely unreal with the Gladiators there, just having their spawn door right around the corner. They still need another fight, though, to be able to take point B here as we see the cart making around the corner. Doesn't have much more to go, as you can see at the top of your screen.
Los Angeles, I mean, I'm not feeling great for the Gladiators about the support ultimates that they have. No Transcendence. Not going to be fun. Let's see if the Spitfire just try and start it off. Both sides go for the rally here. Important fight as hydration already being booted back in position. Decay straight to 100 charge, of course. Reasonable. Transcendence now being used for the Spitfire. That's the ultimate the Gladiators didn't have. The Spitfire had to find an advantage with a Zenyatta ultimate, but they actually still go even in this fight. It's a classic 3-3 fight where ults are being used and no kills are being found. And Decay has a Graviton. So does Prophet. Pretty much both are used at the same time, and a Transcendence now being brought into the fight as well. Void down, but Ocean picks him off. It's a trade though. Jester's missing in a 5v5. It's getting out of control. The Gladiators break through. Despite the Spitfire having more ultimates into the fight, they held off for so long, and Decay gets the result he was looking for with that Graviton.
But those ultimates, they swing so fast when you're putting down so much damage and then nobody's dying. Like for the Gladiators there, they played it perfectly from the standpoint that they knew they just needed to stand on the backside of the cart and just wait until Decay, he had charge, puts down some more damage, you have grab, you're starting to build some of these ultimates rather quickly. I think London, to win that, they would have needed to go aggressive right away, push into them straight away. We're going to have a rally to kick off this fight. Self-destruct here from Fury over the top, doesn't get anything.
Yeah, BigGOOSE sound barrier there just being laid down. Definitely help the Gladiators as they try and push forward now. Rally from hydration. And the Spitfire use their rally but choose to back off instead. And guess what? It's grab time. Both Zayas getting those ultimates at about the same time. The more charge you have, the faster your roll comes up, the more damage you do. A Transcendence from BigGOOSE and Shaz. So these teams mirrored ultimates coming into this fight. Decay lets the Graviton Surge go down. The Transcendence brought in by Shaz and BigGOOSE. Prophet also used his Grav. And once again, neither team could really find an inch in the start of the fight. We're down to 23 seconds left. The Gladiators pretty much need to stick to this payload, man.
Yeah, I mean, everybody was just sucked up in both grabs. You have no self-destruct combos to use here. As they pressure Gesture, he gets quite low. The self-destruct goes in. There he goes.
No shield available. Still Gesture the only casualty. The bomb didn't find anything on the side of the Gladiators, but they had that player advantage now. They're looking to snowball that one further out of control. It is a desuited Fury trying to break line of sight and keep the payload in place, but he is discovered and removed. Prophet taken down, and somehow, against the odds, the Gladiators are doing this. Gesture forced back, and no shadow for you, my friend.
Almost full held outside of their spawn. A couple fights. The first one maybe a little bit fortunate. The next two were just very well played by the Gladiators. And that push almost doesn't happen when they end up using that grab that we were talking about, that Decay ends up using, and there's no follow-up that comes on through. Is you can see here from the mini-map, right? The grab comes through, and then they all kind of huddle around the pole, and then Roar gets really low. They use the Transcendence, but at that point, they all have to back up. There was zero opportunity for a follow-through on that. And you burn two big ultimates, like Transcendence and Grab, it made it really tough. Their saving grace is their spawn doors, like, basically on the cart at that point.
It seemed right there as if Chaz was just trying to hold the Transcendence a little bit later, see how far he could push
or
luck in that grab.
Yeah, I think, Roar got, like, really low, and sometimes there's, like, that... It's so hard, especially in this meta, to determine
you see your main tank is low, and you know you need to keep
when
them
the
alive.
burst damage is going to come. Like when you have like a lot of other damage dealers in the game, you can really get a good judge of how much damage is coming in. But because you're dealing with Zarya, whose damage kind of scales depending on how much she's charged, and whether the Reinhardt's getting a fire strike or a swing through there, it's difficult to gauge how much incoming damage is actually about to happen. Which makes you sometimes, like, you believe you have an extra second to use that Transcendence, or, you have that second to pop it, then get over towards them. Makes it really difficult to judge.
Well, how many times have we seen a Primal Rage Winston deleted instantly? Or Winston's before Primal Rage used, getting killed before they have a chance to go for it. It's hard to predict, sort of in what amount damage can actually come towards you based on, where you are in the team fight. So the Gladiators have no time left in the bank after they're attacked. If the Spitfire are fast enough, the Gladiators won't have another chance to attack it over.
So this is interesting. You'll have Fury here playing Wrecking Ball. So usually if we see Wrecking Ball, he's usually played as he just goes right through. He just pummels Shaz off the side.
I don't think the Gladiators were ready for that at all. Roar forced the charge away. You see Fury just in the background. It's his jungle gym out there.
EBS, I ain't got to tell you, get me a replay of that. I want to see that. It just goes right through the top, man. He just, like, Shaz sitting in the back, he just gets pummeled through. Because you don't expect it, because who plays Wrecking Ball instead of Diva in a Reinhardt kind of composition? You usually see Wrecking Ball played a lot in, like, quad DPS, quad damage dealer type of compositions as a solo tank. You don't see him often in terms of, like, an off tank. Fury's going to go back and switch. So maybe that's just a design setup. Maybe that's something they know where the Gladiators are going to play the Reinhardt composition on defense. It's very static and just roll right through them.
Environmental kills are fairly plentiful if the team is playing on that top left-hand side.
That was too funny, man.
Oh, God! Push back, chase
funny.
him down.
Yeah.
You didn't find that as funny as before?
Nah.
No. Some of the humor being drained away?
Not really.
I don't think the Gladiators are joking, man.
Yeah, the Brig going in there solo kind of gives you some kind of feelings of like dive into Masters rank play. Oh, I'm Brig, I'll just go in. Like, sure, because you can't take any damage, right? But so now London, they're not going to opt to just kind of keep flooding out like the Gladiators did. They're going to go wrap around and try this straight approach rather early. The Gladiators did this later in their offensive attempt. I think London values the space here.
Graviton Surge, Transcendence response here. A shatter just to make sure the Spitfire couldn't follow up in the way they would have liked to, and the Gladiators, that's a very solid defense. That will keep the Spitfire caught inside their own spawn. Prophet, he's got to be a bit salty about that one, committing a grab and still being stuck in his own house.
Yeah, and I think they had Fury up on the high ground, who was just putting damage from the backside up on the bridge. Just not enough. And then now they're going to be walking in. I'm sure they know Decay's got this grab waiting for them.
And he'll let it go straight away. He'll know that Fisher is just sat there waiting for it, and self-destruct from both teams thrown in here. Who comes out on top? Well, it's the Gladiators Void. gets that extra kill, and more importantly, both Gesture and Prophet are missing. And hey, BigGOOSE might be dead, but he's Lucio. He's a speedster. It probably will force the Gladiators to give a little bit of extra ground while they wait. Yeah, they do. They back up a little bit more here. Oh, Raw is in the corner. He's right behind him, Shatter! Oh, it's nasty! That's a 6-man Shatter! Oh, I need a shower.
Bumper keeps playing well. You're going to see all different types of stuff like this. You know, the flanking Reinhardt becoming pretty popular. You saw what Super try like the 360 shatter. You know, the
180. Yeah.
I love it, bro. Bust out all the tricks. Why not? Reinhardt players, they know they're gonna live forever. Everyone's pocketing them. Just do whatever, man.
Spitfire are not happy right now. They're gonna push forward aggressively. I'm pretty sure Gesture failed to really find too much with that Earth Shatter. Still, the Spitfire, they're adamant, Matt. They push up and they find the sound barrier.
You know what? I actually think one of the biggest things at this series so far, like as you're watching it from like a high level POV, is just like the team that is just always aggressive and just running into the other has been the team that's been successful. Like we saw like 3 or 4 pushes where London would come around the outside, right? They're trying to be slow. That time they just sped right into them and they just started, they pick one player, just run them and just run them over and just push on through. You saw it be successful there to get out of the spawn break.
I mean, this is a behavior we've seen exhibited by teams such as the Vancouver Titans. Love to get aggressive.
Pick a player, run with them.
We've cracked the code, Matt. Finally.
No, I don't think we have, but...
Overwatch analysts hate this one tip. Okay, now with a Graviton surge.
Like that would be like a... reinforces Reinhardt tips against every hero, like those CarQ videos. Everyone so like, oh, what should you do against Reinhardt? Run.
just don't be there. don't lock McCree. But actually go with the Transcendence now. Raw is still able to pick up guard. He's got the first damage despite the Transcendence is present. Fury hoping for a bit from this one. It's beautiful. BigGOOSE and Hydration knocked skyward and then vaporized. Fury really making that one hurt. And now the Spitfire build up a little bit of momentum. We talked about how snowbally these compositions are. The ones that feature the Reinhardt. And well, right now it's being demonstrated to us here. The Spitfire again, 3 minutes, 13 seconds. And if they finish this map in enough time, the Gladiators will have to just defend. They won't have a chance to attack once more.
It was a nice shatter there from Gesture and a really cool play from Nuss. He sees Decay's off to the side. He actually got hit by the shatter, and he boops him while he's back on the ground towards the rest of London, so they're able to take him out rather quickly when all those players are clumped up on the ground. Now, the Lucio boop to just place people in different spots has been pretty massive in this meta so far.
Absolutely. Displacement as an ability is remember what people's issues with Doomfist and how it was so frustrating. Not only did he have the burst damage, but he displaced people constantly. Right now, it's important when all your ducks need to be in a row to make sure you don't get blown up by a Diva mech. Self-destructing. Prophet. He was trying to work around that side, maybe to get behind the Diva Avoid here or make sure he wasn't in a position to eat up that grab. Transcendence here, Shaz bringing that one in, no real surprise there. Oh, the shatter to set up the bomb. It's beautiful. Oh, it's so nice. Fury finds himself 3. And now London push forward. This is excellent for them. Both teams slow starts on the attack and transition into rather comparatively rapid offenses. And now the London Spitfire head into overtime with a lot more time on the clock, and that means that they're the only ones who get to attack once more. It's looking good for London. We'll see you in just a moment. Two minutes and 9 seconds the Spitfire have to, well, but they don't have to do a whole lot here considering the Gladiators have no time left.
And I'm surprised that the Gladiators are coming out with a Reinhardt-based defense, knowing that London was willing to run Wrecking Ball as an off-tank the last time, and you know that Prophet can play far at a high level, you know Guard can play Sombra, you're in a prime position to see a heavy damage dealer position come out from London. And they're going to be just static up on the high ground. Let's see what happens.
And only one tick is what the Spitfire need on point 8 here, 1/3. So I mean, the Gladiators picked themselves into what would be considered a more exploitable comp.
And all London needs to do is just, let Profit just chip players away, let Gesture go and just be annoying, getting the slams, just taking down damage and just live, right? And just constantly just poke and poke and poke. Eventually they'll find like a pick here. Shaz getting quite low. They actually have to use the armor pack on the Shaz to keep him up.
I mean, and Prophet, like, off to his bottom left is where Void is. So he's trying to, again, do what he can to limit the Pharaoh's damage, but this is clever from the Gladiators. Try and push forward and get rid of Bidoshin. Prophet does eventually deal with Void, but
that was actually super sneaky what London just tried to do there. So they send these players around where Gesture is to occupy the high ground, and they want the Gladiators to back out into the hallway up by the bridge, but they put Bidoshin there. And Bidoshin actually lands a big anti-grenade in the back and then tries to run away. They kill him before he's able to run. But a really nice strat there from London. You get 2 or 3 players with an anti, a lot of Pharaoh rockets coming in. You may have been able to manufacture a pickoff.
Prophet still looking for, again, he's already found that 1 kill.
They're trying to do it again.
There wasn't enough to turn the fight. I mean, look, he's got a barrage here, so we can drop in over the top. An EMP from guard would make it very difficult for the Gladiators to answer. Sleep done on Shaz. This might be the opening. There it is, EMP thrown into the mix now. Prophet actually goes down to BigGOOSE. He tries to go for the barrage, and BigGOOSE just says no. With Gesture now missing and guard set on the point after using the EMP, that's very inefficient from the Spitfire. 2 ultimates committed in minimal result, despite Bidoshin getting asleep to start off the fight.
But right now, you do have self-destruct. You're going to have Valkyrie, and you'll most likely get a nano boost. You're also looking at potentially a minefield. You get like a hack onto Roar from the high ground here from guard, and then the self-destruct comes through. You're looking at open space here, 1 or 2 kills.
One more fight left, and the Spitfire kind of had to win on the first one. Now they could be in trouble. Bite a grenade hitting BigGOOSE and Decay, but the sound barrier is there for the Gladiators, so the Spitfire have to be careful. They still need to contest the point. They need to be touching it physically to keep this fight going, and they know that Fury's the man to do that. That's why the Gladiators are targeting that D.Va so heavily. Decay is very close to a Graviton Surge, but the Transcendence comes out now from the Gladiators. Decay backs away after letting that one go, and that's the self-destruct finish. The Spitfire trying to play the sneaky strat, the DPS stacking, but they come out with nothing. Decay is put to sleep, but Bidoshin is just 1 honor. And with Fury being removed, there's no one left on the points.
Nobody is drawn, and London, the risk they took playing DPS-heavy compositions, it fails.
Yeah, and I think it was the right call from London. They just didn't really have a solid attempt outside of their burst. They were able to connect with a biotic grenade on the backside, not able to finish off any of those kills. Then after that, they weren't able to put their push together. They're still at 1-0, though, going into our half. We'll see you in a bit.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. High ground or low ground, T-Mobile has you covered. And by State Farm. Whatever life brings your way, State Farm is here to help life go right.
We got a close one on our hands to start the weekend after a very tight control map. Both teams draw. So we come into the half. It's 1-0 in favor of the Spitfire. Welcome to halftime, everybody. It's Puckett. If you missed the Watch Point pre-show, well, you missed out on a lot. We got Zoe, we got Bren, and we've got a lot of gameplay already to talk about. What's going on with my collar?
I don't know. Fix that.
Fix that.
You got
All right.
it.
Bren, can we talk about this control map? Because this has been one of the most exciting so far, especially knowing that the Gladiators have a new Zarya in the game today.
They absolutely do. Decay is playing for the first time. I don't know why I put so much emphasis on the A on Decay's name, but there you
Decay.
go.
Good, sorry.
Decay. It went super British for a second then. But it was an interesting match. The first round wasn't really going too hot for London Spitfire. They only had one kill in the first round. It was a 100-0 kind of round. But London ended up bringing it back. And after that initial round, I was like, God, please, no. London, bring it back. Don't give us a sweep for Gladiators here. I want a close
That was
game.
the play, though. That was
But
the play.
that was it there. Exactly.
Yeah,
so.
Nasus boop into that Fury bomb was actually really what sold it. And afterwards, they were in the Gladiators' heads. Gladiators started to panic. They started to just randomly throw their ults up whenever they were available, honestly. Like, London just looked a lot more coordinated there.
On that final stage, I have no idea how London came back, but Fury barely touches the point, and they somehow take the game. That sets up Numbani, and this one was back and forth, back and forth. What were some of the things that stood out to you as both teams got to 3 points?
So I like the Gladiators are sticking with what they know, and they're just playing only Reinhardt triple tank, triple support composition.
Okay.
And they're really excelling at this because they've really practiced. You can tell their teamwork with Decay in the lineup now, with Void, with Raw. The combos are beautiful. They're fantastic. They're playing aggressive. But this was cool. London, they out-cheesed London Gladiators, or the Los Angeles Gladiators, I should say.
Gladiators.
Do you remember last time in the playoffs when they cheesed them with that strat on King's Row?
Yep.
This time it's London's turn. That was so cool running a wrecking ball to get the surprise kill.
No bamboozle this time.
Exactly. But it was a very close game, as you said, Puckett. They ended up drawing it out in this final round here. It came down to, realistically, London. They came out with this anti-triple tank, triple support composition.
Yeah.
But it didn't pay off. It's an all-in maneuver. And because they weren't able to win the team fight with the initial EMP, that's where it went wrong. And Los Angeles Valley, they were able to turn it around.
So as we focus purely on the Zaryas in this one, Decay, of course, for the Gladiators, Profit on the right for the Spitfire. What were some of the big numbers here?
I mean, honestly, it generally looked kind of even throughout the entirety of the game. But if you're looking at the end stats of the first half, DK is actually leading back quite a bit. Look at those high energy kills. At one point during Numbani, he had a 77% average energy.
Insane.
That's actually insane. And he's going up against Profit, who is arguably one of the stronger Zaryas in our league. So, yeah, DK for a debut on
Very
the
good.
stage, I would
Very
say
good.
we need to make some noise, honestly. Give it up for DK. First game on the stage, and he's pumping out that numbers like no other. I'm
But
very impressed.
the Gladiators are behind. They have to go clean here in the second half. We
Indeed.
can't go to a game 5 with that draw, so I'll give you guys both the chance. Are you flipping your predictions? Where are we going to close this one out, Zoe?
Sorry, Susie. I will be sticking with London. I will not flip. I think London can bring it home.
All right, what about
For
you,
me,
Brent?
I'm sticking with the Los Angeles Gladiators. I haven't done the Brown flip-flop yet. I think you're going to be able to take it.
I love this match. Keep your eyes on Decay as well as Profit. Plenty more Zarya battles to go. The second half coming up when we return.
They don't just play for a team. They play for every fan, every rival, every moment, every match. And when everyone watching expects the best, they perform with the best.
over 2 minutes in the time bank for the London Spitfire to take this series to 2-0, but they falter at the final hurdle, Matt. They try and come out with this sort of, you know, heavy damage dealer composition on the attack on Numbani, and over time, it doesn't work out. Let's talk a little bit about some of the compositions we've been seeing from them in general.
Which usually, I actually really like the comp that they ran. I think though,
Like the Wrecking Ball, the Faro.
Yes, to optimize it though, I think you needed like another DPS. The issue is I think like when in the past we've seen Fury play Sombra. Guard, since coming into the lineup, only has time played on Brig and Sombra. We have not seen him on any other heroes. We know he can play other heroes. We just have not seen them do that. So when he picks up Sombra duties, because he's a very strong Sombra, what does Fury play? Like a Pharah 76 Sombra, just kind of like with a... I mean, then maybe you just have Bedoshin play like Tracer, and you just kind of run the solo support. We see teams run that on like
That seems the most reasonable, really.
But it seemed like they were going for a set play with the Ana throwing the Biotic Grenade behind the Gladiators, so it's something they really wanted. I think they probably just needed a little bit of extra damage to push them over the top there.
Look, Shaz was asleep, and then it was Guard walked up to him and literally EMP'd on top of the Zenyatta. They killed the Zenyatta and still weren't able to do anything in the fight, so... Here's a composition switch from the Gladiators here, just the early scouting.
As soon as they see the Winston from Gesture, they go back and they swap. So I think you'll see that throughout stage 1 when teams see Winston on the defensive end. That's really the, not really like a hard counter, right? But it's a deterrent to run a lot of the damage dealing heroes.
Gesture will just sit on the corner, tase a little bit, and then back away. The Gladiators just trying to make some rotations here. Oh, big boot. Void now going to make it much harder for the Spitfire to re-establish on top of that little bunker in the middle of the map. And you can see now, the Spitfire is split into 3 parts. Now they reunite a little bit in the middle of the map and they catch Raw. Again, the lack of maneuverability of their Reinhardt-based composition may have hurt the Gladiators, but they trade out main tanks. See Raw missing, see Void going hunting, and he found Bedoshin across the point. And the Gladiators looking very good after that first fight. BigGOOSE, what a way to start it with the boop off that little bunker.
It was a good start from London. They actually got a boot. You know, Fury comes in, he pushes Roar towards the rest of the team, and they're able to take him out. After that, though, it is all LA Gladiators. As Void comes in, picks up a few kills.
That was so aggressive from Void. He goes across the point, almost like 1v5 to try and find the pick on Bedoshin and gets him. I love that.
They're trying to like speed boost up to the high ground here, and see Gesture just blocking the doorway.
Yeah, Raw and Co all knocked down. They're still charging their ultimates, the Gladiators. It was such a short fight. The Spitfire didn't fully commit, which means the Gladiators didn't get 6 kills across their team. So they're still building up that ultimate percentage now. Both teams going to be immediately using the rally on the point to K. Graviton Surge, either actually just trying to catch out Prophet on the high ground here, and he doesn't survive. Gesture trying to keep him shielded up with the Reinhardt. He voluntarily stepped into the Grav to attempt to kick the Zarya up, but it didn't work, and the Gladiators making all the right moves here in this fight on point B. But Ocean's forced to use a Transcendence when there's only 2 other players to benefit from it, and the Spitfire now are forced to abscond and split from the point. Fury and us on the high ground, but Ocean was off on the left-hand side, so he gets run into the ground. And now 1 tick for the Gladiators. They're set up beautifully. They've got 2 support ultimates to come here. There it is, Transcendent into the Graviton. The Spitfire trying to use, and Fury goes down to Void, self-destruct. Shatter from Raw, catches guard, but not enough. He was just around the corner. And now the Gladiators can step forward to the podium and take their prize. It's Dust, Bedoshin, and Prophet left. And they're both very split up here. Prophet will try and touch as he drops onto the point, but he can't have much charge right now. And he's down already. Fury discorded. It's not going to be a long-lived life for the Hamster Man. And there it is.
That was quick. Man. I actually thought there was a chance that London would have taken it back. We were on board with Decay, and Roar's getting low, and he turns to his left to bubble him, and right as he goes to bubble him, Void is actually trying to go to the high ground to the right, and he flies right into his like line of sight, and he actually bubbles Void instead. They lose Roar, and I was like, oh man, I was like, just that little play is going to make a difference, but they're able to hold on and complete it. 5 minutes and 16 seconds in the time bank. That is an unreal time there for the Gladiators.
We talked about in map 1 that it was apparent the Gladiators were trying to focus Prophet down. Prophet had the highest amount of deaths after that first round on Busan. Right there, you know, prior, we saw Decay purposely single Prophet out with a Graviton Surge. We need to get rid of this Zarya. We need to get this source of damage off the table, this potential Graviton Surge in response. He goes straight after it. Gesture steps into the grab to try and protect his Zarya. It's still not enough. And then, the entire front line was committed and were removed instantly.
I think, just early thoughts on Decay. He's been sick this far. It just seems like, some of the things, in terms of, teamwork, they've kind of got a little bit to work on with him. You imagine, he kind of splits time with Surf4, coming into the season if you knew he was going to come into the lineup. You still needed to get Surf4, a good amount of run for the first few weeks. You can't lose those games early, but
Mechanically, the guy is sick, right? I mean, he has looked phenomenal thus far.
Yeah, one of the small cohort of players that are all turning, coming of age or turning 18 around this time of year. Stratus was obviously another one of those for the Washington Justice in his debut yesterday. So what's Gesture looking for here? Probably looking to see if there's anyone in an exploitable position. Notes that, of course, the Gladiators are on the high grounds. He jumps up there straight away. Obviously, Fury had to chase Gesture in to make sure that he didn't immediately get vaporized by all the forthcoming damage. But now it's just Hydration and Decay on the high ground. Decay, if he gets knocked off, it's hard for him to get back up.
So one of the more interesting scenarios of Winston 3-3 versus Winston 3-3, usually the offensive team would just go to Reinhardt and just take advantage of the extra damage Reinhardt can get, try and bait the Winston in. But London wants to stay on the Winston here, as now we'll have the 3-3 mirror with the Winston and main tank.
Yeah, normally if you're playing the Reinhardt in the 3-3, you want the Winston team you want to force them to commit fully, right? Get value for your Reinhardt, a lot of AoE damage as he swings a hammer. Gesture was discorded, so he's backing up here. You can see from the high ground, Fury's using all of his D matrix just to keep the Spitfire up.
They needed to keep Guard alive as well. Guard was almost taken out there, so you lose all that, the repair pack HP regen for either your tanks or maybe even the support. So you can't have Guard die playing the Brig. You don't want to lose that ability.
The Spitfire don't have time to waste. Think back to how quickly the Gladiators managed to finish this map. London need to make a big dent, and quickly. Roar is down. No surprise there. The Gladiators used him very aggressively on that offensive half as well. Guard was traded out for him now in the 5v5. Gesture looking very healthy. Sound barrier, and will have the Primal Rage if he needs to use it. But all he can really do is hang around on the point for a little while. The rest of the Spitfire is set up behind Prophet here. They're going to go again after a brief regroup period.
Yeah, you may try and use Primal to get out the Transcendence that Shaz has with everybody grouped up in this area. You get a few alternate fires, then it comes through as they do lose Bedoshin here. So you spend so much time for London just trying to force out some of these ults. You lose your Zenyatta, that's big. Fury answers back though, they take out Roar.
Remember, in a Winston-based composition, your defense against self-destructs and the Graviton combo is not nearly as reliable. You can only sort of throw down a bubble that's much easier to burst down than a Reinhardt's shield. It's like a quarter of the total hit points. Gesture dropping back down, finding BigGOOSE though, and it's been a protracted engagement, a long fight. Roar uses Primal Rage just to get to the point as quickly as possible now, but Void is quite low. He's forced to step away. Decay gets that Graviton surge in now. Guard somehow still alive. Not really much that Roar could have done there. Void even committing deeply to that fight, but he is removed. And now the Spitfire will get themselves point A with a Transcendence and a grab to bring on to point B.
Yeah, Gladiators probably switch off of Winston. They'll go Reinhardt here on the point B defense. Still, though, the London Spitfire can't beat the Gladiators' time. That's how fast they were on their offensive push. Let's see, though. Nothing against this Grav. Don't want to jinx it. We haven't seen a Grav eaten in this match yet, so...
Despite both these teams featuring very high caliber diva players, that's right. Prophet, ooh, that's the one go down range! And it works out. They're going to catch the Gladiators inside that one. Transcendence coming out perhaps a little bit late. It wasn't enough to save BigGOOSE anyway. Guard trying to stay behind Gesture. His shield isn't the biggest one on this playground. And now that's 2 ticks already for the Spitfire. The Gladiators just have to throw themselves in now. Rally first. Hydration was the one bubbled, not Raw. So Raw probably playing a little bit more passively now in the early stages of this fight, especially with how charged up Prophet is. Raw now is trying to come forward. Big stun though on towards Prophet. That was Hydration to set that one up. He went down to the self-destruct as a result. Now to Sound Barrier here for the Gladiators just to keep them durable. They were looking like they would lose the fight. Slow and Steady wins the race. 94.9% for the Spitfire. And they don't fully capture. And the Gladiators just get further in front with every passing second.
And they use the survivability of Brigitte during Rally when Hydration pushes onto the point. Rally active, you also have the bubble. You don't need to kind of like sacrifice your Reinhardt in that position. Because the Brig, you're just regenerating a lot of health, gaining armor, you're faster, you're a tougher target to hit.
London had a significant ult advantage coming into that last fight. But because it was such a long fight,
they're
the Gladiators... evened it up, and now they're ahead.
I mean, London's looking down the barrel of like 2 fights here, right? I mean, it's going to be tough.
And even then, 2 fights, and they still have to use their ultimates very conservatively when they get them. They probably just want to get it over with quickly as they can. Maybe, disengage mid-fight without losing anyone and just take the damage, keep the Prophet's charge up.
Void was actually
what happened there? He's picked off in the distance.
Yeah.
Not a great sign here for Gladiators, because no one's going to be eating that grab with Void missing. Self-destruct now. Over the top, hydration is down. It's going to be an Earth Shatter from Rory, trying to find a way to break this deadlock or to get the Gladiators out of trouble. Gesture, perfect work. Gesture tries to charge into Roar after he sort of makes himself vulnerable by doing so. BigGOOSE knocks him out of the way. Still, Roar's taken down by BigGOOSE. When you're charging, you do not have your shield, and BigGOOSE now is able to sit in the back line and just find these picks. This is how much of a knife edge that these fights are fought on with the 3-3 comps. Just losing a Diva is enough to pretty much mean that you're done. We're all trying to make things happen with the Hammond on the point. But no, it'll be Decay getting stunned up immediately.
And the Spitfire will complete an offense. They're going to have to attack again pretty much straight away. They're behind in terms of time, and they need to think about how they're going to make up for this deficit. Some big wrinkly brains on this London roster. I'm sure they can come up with a solution, but right now they're 3 minutes behind. We'll see you in just a second.
As a concept you can take into your games at home, ladies and germs, losing your Diva player when you need to defend is not ideal.
See what happened here is...
It's possibly got booped off the edge there.
got booped. You wouldn't just go down there with the mindset of you'll just shift back up with so much stun.
Well, Void probably used his boosters to get on that platform, and then it was a matter of Nas just knocking him down. And he would have had at least 4 seconds on the cooldown, so wouldn't have been able to get back up there. Nicely done. That's how you sort of, find a crack in the dam, so to speak, and break through it. So the Spitfire still have to attack again. You'll see that this has to be rather expedient. Both teams thinking about that Winston in the 3-3. Fury would like to try and control the high ground for his team, but very aggressively does Hydration shield bash forward and stun him up to knock him down. Eventually the Gladiators have to give up that ground. They can't stay there forever.
It's just how do the defensive Winston play against this? Do you just kind of counter dive? And that's exactly what they do. So when Gesture jumps in, Roar just goes straight for the back line.
Look, personally, I think this suits Roar quite a lot.
Yeah.
He's very aggressive and wants to be the first one in the fight. Both he and Void actually have taken great risks in order to secure kills. I think back to the first attack for the Gladiators at this point, where Void charged straight after BigGOOSE and just ground him into dust. And see, now with that fight one, it's a huge pressure relief valve for the Gladiators. They can now set up back on this high ground, they can trade, they can get charged for Decay, who's probably still looking pretty good, whereas Prophet has to reset in that regard.
I mean, Gesture does get pretty close to Primal Rage as compared to Roar. So maybe use this Primal Rage can just kind of cause some chaos. Maybe you get, a rally invested as... looks like Hydration will use rally, and look at that.
That's so annoying for him.
Gesture just right over the top. It's the counter dive, and then instead when Gesture moves in, they just speed boost right underneath him, and then you see from his POV, he's just kind of stuck there on the point.
And Gesture,
guys, where is
the only way Gesture could have been involved in that fight is if he had used his Primal Rage in that moment to give himself a reset on his jump pack cooldown. So he sat there looking like a stunned mullet, and the rest of his team are just getting smacked in the corner.
I mean, he burst. I mean, at this point, you almost want to get solo grabbed and use Primal Rage. We see that kind of as a strategy sometimes.
That's a great example of being caught between the play.
Yes.
Well, 33 seconds for the Spitfire now, so they've squandered a couple of the opportunities here. They were already going to start behind the 8 ball, but they're going to give the Gladiators the chance to even up this series and make this 4th map next the all-important tiebreaker. Decay, a lot of damage early. Graviton Surge being let go there as well. That's pretty much caught the entirety of the Spitfire in, except for Gesture, who's going to protect them from the self-destruct. Nuss is down. Now it's going to be the exact same thing from the Spitfire, but their bomb doesn't actually yield any results. Hydration was low, but the Transcendence was very well timed from Shaz to keep up and roars in their faces. He's getting mad. And the Spitfire, this is their last chance, but they're running out of players. BigGOOSE is down, often the instigator of comebacks in these fights for the Gladiators. Raw now will just tickle guard again. Those Inspire procs are giving that Brigitte a lot of health, but Decay late in the fight, charged up. He's loving playing Overwatch by Blizzard Entertainment, you better believe it. And there it is. The Gladiators will hold out on defense. And London completely stymied there. There's 2 attacks in a row from London. The second just doesn't get it done. Matt, the way these two teams use these Winstons, both are on attack and defense respectively, is quite fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, that time, you know, when it's kind of the same thing. They kind of trade places. Gesture goes in. I think the most interesting thing there was we talk a lot about the smaller abilities outside of ultimates. Right there, when Roar actually, it's Decay who hits a really nice Graviton Surge, connects with a few people. Usually, okay, maybe the Winston will jump in, put the bubble down, and try and line of sight some players out of Transcendence. But he knows that Fury has self-destruct, and it's probably coming right after that because you pick up a few kills. Final seconds, he's not going to just go to the spawn with it. So he needs the bubble.
You have to save it to protect the team.
Which is pretty smart.
Yeah, I think that
little plays like that.
The interplay between teams trying to set up the Graviton Surge and D.Va self-destruct combos when it's Winstons and not Reinhardt's is much more nuanced. It's a little bit more complicated.
Yeah.
But all you need to know, ladies and gentlemen, is that the Gladiators need 1 tick on point A. They have 5 minutes and 16 seconds to do it. The odds in general of a team being able to do this is pretty high.
Yeah, don't get too excited as well. I imagine the Gladiators, they probably have Hydration scout this out, and they switch off of this.
They don't want to do a reverse. Well, this is what London did on Numbani.
Yeah, a bunch of players to the Gladiators in the spawn. Yep, here come the swaps. Okay, so they go with the Reinhardt. They don't want to opt into Winston offensive 3-3 against the defensive Winston. They're going to opt for the Reinhardt, which is what most teams we see opt for when they see Winston on the other side.
Absolutely. They're going to dare Gesture to try and commit to the fight with the rest of his team, and Raw is going to try and end it right there with a Shadow.
And they don't even need Gesture. If they come out here and take the high ground, all it takes is Gesture to get low, and then Fury to fly in to use Matrix to try and save him. Gesture jumps out, then you have a kill on a Fury, right? So you just get one of the 2 mobile tanks out of the way.
Yeah, London definitely playing on hard mode here with their setup. Gives them a bit more flexibility, but durability not great. Raw just getting pooped around, great, and very timely bubble given to him by Decay, and the Gladiators are able to breathe a sigh of relief as they don't end up feeding their Reinhardt. BigGOOSE speed boosting his team forward, but the Gladiators just really want to take position on the point. Raw got bubbled. Ooh, knocked down pretty much straight away. Great little interruption there by Guard. He does pay for it with his life, though. Brigitte now missing for the London Spitfire, but they have the Transcendence into the play. Hydration taken down by Nuss's Boop, and now Decay going to invest after the Transcendence with a Graviton. Oh no, this could hurt. Prophet is knocked away, and he was taken down before the self-destruct even happened. He wasn't there to see the fallout. And now Fury cannot mitigate Decay's left-click damage with D.Va. Defense Matrix does nothing to eat up a beam. And now this will be that cleanup once again. Decay fully charged and ready to rumble, and the Gladiators even up the series. Now, the chance of a map 5 has gone. The winner of the next map will win this series with that 1 draw earlier on. The stakes have never been higher, and there's quite the grudge match between these two.
The Overwatch League is powered by Intel. Game, record, stream without compromise on Intel Core i7. And by Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League.
just gotta keep moving forward.
It is crunch time for the Gladiators and the Spitfire respectively, as this fourth map will be the decider after we saw a draw in map number 2. Decay, Matt, what are your thoughts?
Oh, he's been sick. I mean, on that map, though, almost 18k damage compared to Prophet, sitting at about 13k.
And Prophet, by the way, prior with some of the best Zarya stats in the league.
You know, towards the end of the game, right, when the game ends, like, just like at home with Overwatch, right? You know, the cards pop up, like, who performed the best.
Yep.
I always, like, look, and I never really see anybody vote. 2 people voted for Decay that game. They were showing him slow. Maybe it's his teammates on the end. Like, that's Hydration's way of, like, thanking him. Like, hey, man,
With the button. That's still stuff that we see. It's off camera. It's really relevant as well, especially with how these compositions work. But, you know, his team's just trying to get behind him. Just trying to pump the man up. That's what we like to see. So Dorado coming around the corner, and we've seen the Spitfire, Matt. They have played Winston maybe in a few more situations than you expected them to.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like, opting in for the Winston on offense against Winston defense in the 3-3, you saw exactly when the Gladiators ran the Rhine, why you run Rhine in that composition against the Winston on defense, why it's so effective. Reinhardt here on defense, usually we see teams play really close to the corner. So you can't really do this with, like, I mean, you could do it with Winston. It's just so much riskier, and you would have given up a ton of space. Already, though, the Gladiators have created a ton of space. London doesn't even fight that, which is kind of bad. You almost want to fight that first so you get the second fight here. Like, they get pushed back so far. They lose this fight. They're in trouble. They are running the Sombra, though, here, so maybe just trying to get some...
The more ground that they give to the Gladiators, the more room in the back the guard has to work, technically.
Yeah, but you're gonna end up in a situation where the cart moves, like, almost around this statue.
Well, they've lost the chance to fight in the choke now.
And if you don't get an EMP here, you've ran this comp and you're not really kind of generating anything with it. And now this actually forces Fury onto Zarya with Prophet on Brig. So we know how good of a Brigitte Prophet is, arguably, I think, the best Brig in the league last year. We haven't really seen Fury play too much Zarya. You know, usually only playing D.Va, but looking good thus far.
Fury already with that Graviton Surge. Yeah, BigGOOSE was picked off early in that fight. It's like the guard actually managed to hack him. Okay, I kind of like this, Fury. This is... I mean, there is literally no chance for any of your teammates to help you follow up on that Graviton because they don't have that sort of vertical mobility. And yet, he goes through
that
anyway.
Fury does not play a ton of Zarya.
Yeah. Well, that's a big hack. Chaz, Hydration, BigGOOSE, Raw, all of them hacked up. Void actually got hacked manually by Guard after the fact, and now the Transcendence comes in for Chaz. This is one of those situations where your Zen isn't able to make that impact early on in the fight. He gestured down. Earthshatter, here's what that knocks down 3. And yep, Raw's going to charge on through. Nuss tries to redirect him, but he can't stop him from getting the connection.
Yeah, and Gesture just a little bit out of position there. You know, he ends up trying to block his team from the self-destruct. He gets launched to the other side. He falls. Soon as he falls, like the second he drops, Earthshatter comes in from Roar. They had used the sound barrier at that time. London didn't get anything out of it, though. So, see, London's still going to play, you know, the Sombra version of the 3-3. You can't really call it 3-3 because it's not 3-3, but everybody calls that anyway, so...
Sombra Goats still doesn't really make any sense to people.
Doesn't make any sense.
Has no intuitive meaning.
It's actually not goat.
It's not. It's not. You might have heard that word thrown around a little bit on social media and stuff like that. We use 3-3 instead. Oh! Okay, Guard gets out earlier there. He could have picked off Shaz. It was a huge EMP, and absolutely the Spitfire had to follow up on that one. Shaz is still able to slink away. Funnily enough, it may have been...
in the fight, though. So.
Yeah, it may have been the armor as well that Hydration gave with the old repair pack that helped him. Okay, interesting.
It's interesting they play so close without the sustain of having that third tank, as that'll be the grab that goes into the statue. So Gesture does pick up BigGOOSE, through the Transcendence, as they were getting that ability off, but not able to survive there. Shaz, you kind of waited. I mean, you got really nothing with the trance. You would have liked to keep all the supports alive during that.
I like that you point that out, that London don't have that extra tank, and yet they do want to play so aggressively and close. Is that because they're just trying to lean into getting more damage to sort of, make the fights quicker so they don't lose in a protracted engagement?
I mean, more damage. Roar actually uses Shatter here. I wonder if we see him switch. I wonder if they're going to decide to play like a Winston here against this. Maybe the Sombra's giving them some trouble. No, actually, just try to use the Shatter backing up the stairs. But now you're going to come back. You're going to keep. If London plays this right, though, Mitch, you can keep cycling these abilities. EMP there, it's big. It connects with all 6.
That's 6. Yeah.
Everybody will drop. But now look, you can keep cycling these together, right? And now you have the Grav coming up. Then you'll have Shatter. You get 3 support ults. Then you'll have EMP again. You can keep kind of cycling these ultimates here.
This is what you wanted to see
London
from the Spitfire at the start of this half, mate. You wanted to see them hold closer. Now they're delivering. And with one ultimate, that EMP, you're able to win a fight, which is very efficient. Quite often we see ultimates used in combinations of 2 or more to win fights for teams. And this is very efficient. They just grabbed that fight and they win that one out. 2 support ults still there.
You haven't had to use anything. Shaz gonna play Ana now. He's let's see if he stays on it. He's in the spawn trying to heal some players up, but nope. They're gonna wrap up. They're gonna try and go high ground here. It looks like.
Not a route that we normally see taken here. BigGOOSE Transcendence.
They lose
Gets
players
into the grab.
early.
Perfect timing from BigGOOSE as well. He could have lost a couple of players, but he actually preempts the damage a little bit. From BigGOOSE's perspective, there was no one on the Spitfire that was dangerously low at the time. He went for the Transcendence, but he knew they would be by the time he got up there.
And this is when we saw them first bring Guard into the lineup, have really good success when he was running Sombra and they were playing this, Sombra alternative 2-3-3. A lot of ultimates here for the Gladiators, but you can't engage using Sound Barrier because they're going to EMP, right? You're gonna walk into this.
And this Ana switch from Shaz is mad respect to Guard. He just doesn't want to get blown up instantly as Zenyatta anymore, and maybe he can do something a little bit more. Mad, unreal respect, bro. EMP, there it is. Another 6-man one. The Spitfire now need to close the gap and actually try and get something for these kills, and they do. And the Gladiators are being spawn camped. There's no 2 ways about it.
But look, they've cycled these abilities so well that BigGOOSE will end up with a trance in the next fight. You have Sound Barrier. And now for the Gladiators, because you don't have Transcendence, you really just have BigGOOSE's Sound Barrier for AoE sustain. I mean,
No Shadow. Okay, a couple stuns there as well. Both supports were knocked down, and you see that biotic grenade on towards Prophet, but it doesn't matter if there is a Sound Barrier in play. Now the Gladiators get one of their own. Raw was hacked there for just a moment, and Gesture quickly trying to back away. Translocated for Guard to get away from that self-destruct. I respect that play immensely. Raw Hydration, all void, also knocked down. Nuss is low, but he's managing to stay alive and keep BigGOOSE up. This is fantastic from the Spitfire. A fight that could have turned against them on multiple occasions. They're staying in it. Prophet gets a late rally, which is a huge difference now when a lot of those cooldowns aren't available. And 6 seconds left.
And they're going to have to run into this EMP. Guard going to get it now.
He's just going to stand on the payload. He says, well, you have to challenge us. I'm just going to hit Q as soon as you walk up. And there it is. Only Void caught out by the EMP. And the focus is not on that Diva currently. So not the most efficient use of that ultimate. The Spitfire start to take a couple of steps back, realizing they've overstayed.
And he actually gets stunned by Hydration. And then he uses the EMP. So he wasn't in the ideal spot to use it. He was set up to use it quick. Adjustment from Hydration, but here's going to be London. They're going to get aggressive. It'll be a nano boost here that's used on the Roar. Shatter gets nothing. London's now going to invest the grab.
Void can't eat that one either. No one's been eating Gravitons at all in this particular game, but Fury goes down. You saw how aggressively he was playing. He was trying to get close to find a good spot to use the gravity, punished for it. He backs up. Hydration, despite getting a biotic grenade, went quite low, and Guard, again, just trying to charge up that next EMP. He translocates out. There is a Graviton now for the Gladiators. EMP, Transcendence, Sound Barrier for the Spitfire. If the Gladiators get knocked off this payload for half a second, it's over.
You see where Decay is playing. He does not want to get hit by this EMP. Needs to hide, try and get this grab on.
He knows he needs this grab in this fight. Here comes the push. Sound Barrier coming out. Guard hasn't used the EMP quite yet. Another Transcendence is being used. Decay went for the grab, and it was a late EMP in the fight. Roar is pushed down. Oh, man. Decay's just not where he wants to be right now. He had to hide in the church for so much of that fight, and he already used the Graviton Surge to little or no avail. Late fight, Fury charge looking pretty good. Now they want to run over the top of Void. Decay pushing forward, uses his own barrier. He's forced to. The Gladiators, a sound barrier comes out. They brought hydration in on the Hamtaro, except he got pretty chunky in his later years after joining Overwatch. Now Void. Yeah, force back. This is it. Hydration's going to get caught up in the Graviton Surge, and Roar is down. The Spitfire had to concede a little bit of extra distance at the end of that round, but overall, Matt, you have to be happy if you're London.
The Gladiators had no response for the Sombra play of guard. I mean, he finishes the map, well, the first half, without a death there. 39 enemies hacked, 27 of them via EMP. So getting tons of value with the EMP, charging an EMP every 56 seconds. So get this. So remember I was talking about, they're able to cycle their ults so well. You're getting an EMP every 56 seconds, Shatter every 57, and then you're getting Grab every 1 minute and 5. So you always have one of those big abilities to use, and there's nothing that the Gladiators can do because you don't want to invest any of your support ultimates as you walk into the EMP, not really able to do anything when the Grav comes towards the end. You can't use everything when the Grav comes because then you have nothing to do with the EMP. So you want to just kind of wait it out, but it's so hard.
I'm so impressed, by the way, that Decay is able to have 60% average energy in that half when he spent the majority of the time in spawn with the rest of his team. 6 deaths for Decay, whereas Prophet only had 1. Prophet 24 eliminations, 2 final plays.
You can get that 60 average energy dying 6 times and Roar dies 9 times.
Roar with a large chunk of the damage from his team. He's actually he's got as much damage as Decay does, which is maybe not super common. Normally the Zaya's outstrip the Reinhardt by a considerable amount.
Yeah, I mean, he's just in there swinging, right? I mean, you can see how, even for London, which is interesting. So, Prophet, usually like their top damage dealer, right? He's playing Break for that,
most of that half.
The whole first half. He's down at like 4,600. Fury did a nice job, though, with Zarya, right? 11K, kind of in the same area where Gesture is.
The first grab was a bit questionable, but...
that was, I erased that one so quick. But we saw that the other day, though, too, right?
Ooh, this is cute.
Oh, nice little boost here.
Yeah, Prophet gets himself up on the high ground. That's something to keep an eye out for. And again, he just wants to try and... Oh, I can see Void really just trying to avoid it as much as he can, because if Void starts getting lasered by the Zarya, he just has to take the damage. He can't do anything about it. Look at him sitting off on towards the side. Now he's backed away. So the Spitfire have managed to corral the Gladiators now into this cul-de-sac, but they're not really moving the payload. So they either need to get aggressive here or go back to the payload itself. Oh, Decay's down! The pick from Prophet backed up with a Discord Orb, of course. BigGOOSE happy with that one, and now the Gladiators are getting run over. This wasn't how it was supposed to be. The Gladiators were playing passively so they could actually have a robust defense. Instead, they start losing players one at a time.
And we talked about it a lot last week. The stats back it up. When you lose your Zarya first, the fight is pretty much done.
You win in like 5% of fights?
Yeah, when your Zarya dies first, you only win 5% of those fights. So you can do the math on what it is when you don't have the Zarya. It's not looking good.
We don't have time for that, fam.
For the rest of the squad. No time.
Can't do it all
time
for you.
But the first death from Decay is big. Obviously, it gives up first point here to London, but it also sets him behind Prophet in terms of grab charge. And he just got the grab. You have Decay at only 60%. Oh, Roar gets boosted up. He's going to shatter and just try to keep himself alive.
Yeah, I mean, it had to be the Transcendence giving it to the fight. It could have been all over right there. And then for the Gladiators, that's a self-destruct grab combo. Bomb drops in. That's 2. Oh, the Gladiators now just limping away from this fight, but they're not going to be allowed to escape. The Spitfire realize now they're locked onto their target, and they're not going to let them go. And then the next fight doesn't look that great for the Gladiators. Decay does at least have his Graviton Surge. Nuts will have to sound barrier that to keep his team up, but they have to be very quick. This golden box of victory is not far away.
Well, the issue is that you're going to be so close to that victory box if you're London that the Gladiators are going to have to invest everything. So you invest everything, you draw the fight out a little bit, you come back with all your ultimates in the next fight and you take it there. This is not the end-all be-all here for the London Spitfire on this push.
And as a result, they may just not play as aggressively. The margin of error for the Gladiators is the one that is slim currently. The time bank lead is considerable. 3 minutes 55 left. Decay lets that Graviton Surge go. The Spitfire do commit a sound barrier to it, so they might actually try and make something out of this fight. And Void does go down. The kill's traded out. The guard missing now in a 5v5. Nuts knocked back on the point. Sound barrier for the Gladiators now, and BigGOOSE managed to hang around long enough to let that one go, but Decay bursts down. BigGOOSE Just mashing him there with the orbs. Raw shield is broken now. The shadow comes out from Jester, but Raw charged forward to avoid being knocked down. But now he's out of position, and he's so low. He gets to the payload, but Jester finishes him off with a fire strike, and it's over. The Spitfire will take the series 2-1 and continue that upward trend after a week. Week 1, week 2 looked good. Week 3, continuing to look stellar for the map.
Guard has made a big difference coming into the lineup. Bird Ring standout player from last year for London, but Guard being able to pick up some of the Brigitte duties from Prophet, allow him to play Zarya at a very high level. But really what you saw here in this match was the Sombra play towards the end. That was the biggest difference towards the end. Guard Sombra swung this last map in London's favor.
It's interesting because we talked a little bit about Guard, earlier on in this series, saying, what is his hero pool looking like? None of it was really being leveraged outside of the Brigitte and Sombra.
He's literally not played anything but the Brig and Sombra.
So what does that tell you about the potential or the ceiling of this Spitfire roster now they've worked out the kinks of their first couple of weeks of games?
I mean, in this meta, the way it is right now, they can run, the Winston 3-3. They can run the Rhine 3-3. Probably, their Rhine 3-3 actually looked pretty good here on the final map. And I think, look, they have the better Zaryas coming up with Prophet. You see their last 2 games are definitely winnable. Going up to Dragons and then Soul. Look, they're either going to run, one of the 3-3 compositions, or they're going to run Sombra, but they've been so good when Guard plays this Sombra. It's a lot easier to know what's happening and then try and beat it. They're very good at this playstyle. I think London, they look like they could win these next 2 games, potentially find themselves in the stage playoff.
5-2 is
it's really good.
Very likely to be above the cutoff for our stage 1 playoffs at the very least. So they have to be happy with that one. Not a moment too soon, they corrected their course and they started to look fantastic. Now, let's throw back a little bit. Volskaya was an interesting map here where both teams just didn't want to switch off the Winston.
I mean, which is odd considering how, I don't want to say it was great, but London's Reinhardt composition looked better than it has in the past, a few weeks. We saw when the LA Gladiators went in their overtime push and went on offense, they ran the Rhine versus the Winston, they were able to take it with ease. I think this map, London could have done a much better job.
I'm so done with people trying to take hot takes about Jester's tank hero pool or his Reinhardt. Like, none of you are right. You're all mad wrong. And then he just turns up.
Not just wrong. You're all mad wrong.
Proper mad wrong, fam. He looks very, very good here. Obviously, in the final moments, the Gladiators opted to play that Reinhardt a little bit more. And we saw, Spitfire go, this is actually now kind of hard to kill with just a Winston. Yeah. And, well, if we commit to the fight for a long period of time, we're actually going to be way behind in damage. Gerardo, completely different story. Fury started off on the Zarya here for defense.
And I think they just do that because you don't want Fury to play break. We've never seen that. It would just be really odd, as I do need Zarya in this composition. And then you just have Prophet go back to Brigitte, which he's so talented at. And I thought, Fury as Zarya, which we don't see him play a ton, he really much just stays on D.Va, had a pretty good showing. The first grab, all right, that's kind of questionable, but after that, it's pretty good. Yeah,
look, they're playing so far forward. When they leverage the Sombra so effectively, it has to be frustrating.
Yeah.
The Gladiators were forced to switch off the Zen towards an Ana, presumably because they needed to get some value in fights where EMP was used against them. Ana, of course, can still heal, whereas Zen just gets exploded.
Yeah, I mean, they were not able to counter that Sombra whatsoever. I mean, they were trapped in their spawn, which felt like forever.
It was about 3 minutes, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Let's see who our player of the match is, though, for this victory for the Spitfire. One that's going to propel them forward in the next couple of weeks with some confidence. And it was Prophet playing over a couple different roles here. He's the man with the honors.
Yeah, I think you could have went either Prophet or Guard during this series. I actually thought up until the final map, it definitely was Prophet. And I think Prophet's versatility towards the end, being able to go over and play break, really kind of helps him. We know that Guard can play Sombra. We know he can play Brigitte. But when you need somebody to just pick up a hero, it seems, at any moment, to play it at a world-class level, Prophet's able to just do it on the fly.
It's filthy that he just plays everything. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, and you're going up against a roster with a highly talented Zarya player, so Prophet needs to be at his best. But statistically, Prophet is having the greatest impact in team fights. So I definitely think he deserves the Omen by HP player of the match. No doubt about it.
It's actually mind blown that he wasn't their Zarya player at the beginning of the year, right? You haven't been for those first 2 games of those losses. Like, are we looking at a London team that's just kind of run the table at this point? You don't know.
Every time. At least they're not waiting until the end of the season to start looking good. So
But I mean, who knows? Stage 2, Stage 3, it's a long season. However, coming up, this is going to be a really fascinating game. A game, I guess, of the veterans versus the upstarts. It's going to be the Toronto Defiant taking on the New York Excelsior. That's one not to be missing. I'm looking forward to that one. We're going to be back with that one in just a few moments.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. High ground or low ground, T-Mobile has you covered.
Welcome back from the break, everybody. And the first match of the day, Hex. It went, to 4 maps. But now you and I are here, so we know this one's going to go to 5.
Yeah, generally, they happen to go that way. However, New York XL is playing, so they're
Still going to go to 5, Hex. Still going to go to 5. The dream lives on.
That should be a good one. I'm really interested to see what this Toronto, I've been told, is team is going to bring. And now that they've got the new addition, this is them at full strength. And I mentioned in the pregame show, it was so important for them to go 2-1, win the games they were supposed to win, because they're still in the stage playoff contention.
Damn straight. And, well, just moving on. New York, they're a beast. They're a beast of a team, and they are definitely the dominant force. We saw that throughout the first season. Going into the second season, still the same. And, guy who believes himself, Jonak, right out the gates.
I think NYXL's trash talk it's so much more painful for people to read because they're like, yeah, it's probably right. I mean, it's like you can talk trash and people are like, whatever, that's just trash talk. But when Jonak says something like this, that the other teams can try, we're just better,
you look at it and you're like, I'm not even mad because he's probably right, and it just makes it hurt that much more.
You're talking, I mean, when you're on the most dominant team, you got MVP last season. Keep that in mind. Most valuable player of season 2018. So, I mean, if Jonak is saying it, it's like, yeah, okay, fair enough. You know, it's like, I don't know, Kobe or Michael Jordan just going at it.
There's so many players on this team that are almost so good and they're so dominant that they're forgotten about. Like, you think about, like, Mono and Meko. Like, any one of these guys could win an MVP. But we will see the starting 6 of the NYXL come to the stage right now. Oh, Toronto, I'm sorry.
So, Toronto, Defiant, Toronto rise together, and they are certainly looking to do that in this match. Second match of the day here from the Blizzard Arena in Los Angeles, and they've definitely got something to prove, Hex, because they're heroes, essentially. They're going up against them.
And the big addition to this team, who was not playing for the first 3 games, is Neko. He's going to be playing very much the Zenyatta role. He had a bit of what we called Jonak syndrome last year, maybe peaking a little too much, going a little bit more damage, but some veteran leadership on this team. Envy, the team captain, Neko comes in, and they've really just kind of held the fort, waiting for their guys to come back. This is the final form for Toronto.
So let's go ahead and meet their opponents, and the man in question, Jonak. He happens to be on this team. It is the New York Excelsior. As far as New York are concerned, I mean, Hex, it's just business as usual. They're not the ones feeling any pressure right now.
They play such a defensive style, robotic, and it's just perfect. All gears are working at the exact same time. I picked earlier in the year for Mono to be my MVP, but he does his job so well that he gets forgotten about so much. It's like you reach that level of excellence and people just take it for granted.
Speaking of excellence, Jonak, I do want to touch on that again. You know, Neko, going into this last season, he did really have Jonak syndrome. He was just like, guys, Jonak was able to influence the entire season. All the teams in it, all the players, they looked at him. They're like, how do we play like this guy? And all the Zenyatas in particular were looking at this guy like, I want to be Jonak. Get all of my team support in the blink of an eye. Be the guy who's dealing the most damage, getting all the kills. I mean, who doesn't want to be the superstar?
He's still leading Zens in most of the important statistics, but it is how his team supports him so much. Last year, he got damage boosted by Mercy constantly. The tanks are just so good on this team. They're always making room for him to play, and they play around Jonak. He's the centerpiece of the team, and they know that. They know where their bread is buttered.
So many clips of this guy where it's like, look at Jonak survive this again, and you see the entire team just rallying on him. As soon as the EMP goes off, you think, oh, that's a dead Zenyatta. No, turns out not. New York, too good at keeping their main star alive, but of course this is a star-studded lineup. I mean, they are truly the dominant force in this league right now.
And we've gone through talking about all the great players on this roster. We didn't even mention Libero, who can play absolutely everything. He enables the team to play all sorts of different styles, so they're just star-studded. I think it would be a victory for Toronto if you can keep it close, if you can hang with New York, as we say, but they may be able to pull out an upset as well. So I know that, like I said, these are veterans. They know how New York plays. New York's not really going to surprise anybody with their style.
So now let's go ahead and take a look at the map set for this match, and it will be presented by Toyota. Busan will be the one kicking us off here. The control map, essentially King of the Hill. These guys are going to battle it out in a best of 3, trying to control, well, the first to control 2 points. So as far as these guys are concerned, New York just really looking to see what they decide to throw in here.
Busan has quickly become one of my favorite maps because we see some interesting strategies. I also really like the game mode a lot. It's a little bit brawlier, a little bit scrappier, but we're going to kick it off on one of our 3 stages. It begins at the mecha base, and this is where you see a lot of 4 damage dealing compositions, single tanks. A lot of interesting stuff comes out here.
We actually get to see damage dealers, you're right. Snipers as well. Stellar going to be kicking things off on the Widowmaker. Nene on the other side, Widow of his own. So we will have 2 snipers in play. No big shock with this particular roster composition, just because it is, as you pointed out, the points that we get to see quite a bit of sniping action on. So already, they're just trying to hunt each other out, figure out where each sniper has set up position.
Yeah, the angles get a little bit tricky. Toronto had tried this actually against Atlanta and was completely shut down by the opposing team's Brigitte. They were unable to get pulse bombs, unable to get EMPs, so they need to really try to focus on where Libero isn't if they want to get those abilities up.
That was some sick pressure on the Hammond already to kick things off. Just, you know, New York putting them on blast, letting them know Nene gonna kick things off with a kill, but it will be instantly traded exactly. Neko going to bite the dust, though, so this is a great start here for New York. They're getting all of the valuable kills to kick things off, and they should be controlling the point first, putting the Defiant on the back foot already.
They got a kill on a Jonak, who was on the Ana, but it is going to be New York taking first control at this point. Nane takes down Envy too, which is not an interaction you see too often, as Envy has the ability to be invisible. Working their way up to some abilities. Already a little bit better start for the Tracer and Sombra player for Toronto. Last time they tried this strategy, they didn't really get up to Pulse Bomb and EMP, which are so important for those heroes.
That's the key. It is the key. It's what they're all about. And speaking of EMPs, there's a monster one right into the thick of things. Already with all of the kills, Defiant, they go through the door and they meet a horrible death. No way for them to get anywhere near this point. They go already farming up that EMP, back up to 30%. So that is going to be the key thing for these Sombras. Focus on getting that EMP up as quickly as possible. And as soon as either team show themselves, boom, you have to drop it and you have to win that fight decisively.
We call it farming the ultimate, meaning you're just trying to do damage. You're not necessarily going for kills. So Sombra will appear behind a tank, do a lot of damage, and make sure that the EMP comes up. But you started off with a pick on a Tracer. Already a good fight.
And another crowd controlling ultimate, or at least one that's going to zone them out. The mines go down, dropped in by Mano. And so that's, once again, forcing Defiant back. Envy, just wondering, where's my team? He's on the other side of the map.
A little bit scattered about here. Libero's going to get a late kill as well. Those ultimates I mentioned earlier are online now for the Toronto Defiants. Envy with EMP, Pulse Bomb also ready. So we'll see where this EMP wants to come off. They have to use it. Already 75 nearly on the board for NYXL.
He's in point. Oh, gets spotted, though. Does manage to recall quick enough. That was so close. The stun combo not quite enough to eliminate Envy. So he's already at half, and we lose Mecca in the process. So a man advantage now for Defiant. Gets traded back. Chonak going to find the kill on Envy. Once again, that EMP not going to be a part of this fight. Nene looking for it. Misses the shot. Now may have missed his opportunity. As you can see, the shields are up, and Ivy, with the focus, takes the Widow out of the fight.
It's a good punish, but they're not getting enough. That's only their third kill of the round. Meanwhile, NYXL still on the point, only down one. Nane's going to be able to come back on Tracer, so they're not even going to be uneven for a while. Mine should zone them out. EMP as well. Desperation time for Toronto.
It's all or nothing now, and really they don't have a whole lot to work with. Overtime, they do manage to contest with two, but they're going to get cleaned up immediately. Not long for this world. And there really isn't too much hope here for the Defiant to contest once again. Not going to make it in time. Ivy was so close, but he's not able to tap the point, and so it will be a 1-point lead now for the New York XL.
A very nice play. It's the same strategy that Toronto has tried before. They got a little bit more output from their damage dealers. Now we will go to the second stage here of Busan, with Toronto needing to win this early on, but NYXL looking as dominant as we expect. 20-3, the overall stat line of eliminations in favor of New York.
Yeah, in favor of New York. Dominant performance so far. No shock there. The Defiants right now gritting their teeth. They've got to figure out how to turn things around for themselves here, and it's looking like they're going to go ahead and go back to one of the tried and true. We will have the big beef, the goats, the three, whatever you want to call it. It's 3 tanks, 3 supports, and a little variation with Moira.
Okay, so little different styles here. NYXL still running what they ran last time. And speaking of running, they will be running right back to spawn to switch up their composition.
What do you got in store for us here, New York? It's time to have fun.
They're just going to mirror it.
Oh, there you go. Zarya's in play. Keep your eye on the pink hair. That is the key hero going into these fights, the big damage dealer, and once Graviton, the ultimate, comes online, that's a huge team fight ability as well. So keep an eye on them. They're going to be the linchpins here, the focus. And right now, just crashing into each other, head-to-head, both teams in a standoff, trying to wear down each other's shields. Ivy doing a good job right now, a bit of the Angry Bees there. But so far, it's going to be New York. They decide to get boosted in, take the fight to them, trying to split up the Defiants, and they're doing a decent job. It's a bit chaotic, trading 1 for 1, but with the Rhine dead, that's pretty much it.
Libero got split out. The Shatter does connect, but not enough. And now we've got a Coalescence. It's very good on this map because retreating paths are narrow. Coalescence does damage, does healing, mainly focused